Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Squabble, one of our favourite golf league features because it gives Duncan and I the opportunity to really thrash it out and kind of keep you up to date with some of the most topical debates in golf. For example, today
we're going to discuss one of my favourite old cherries that comes around in golf. You hear it in the range all the time, golfers telling each other, got to keep your head down. Must keep your head down. You'll be much better if you keep your head down because you lifted your head that time. And it makes me chuckle. Make you chuckle?
I do. Every granddad has said it to every grandchild. Right. Every pushy husband has said it to every poor wife. Yeah. And it is just. What do you think? Should you keep your head down?
No. When I hear someone saying you got to keep your head down, I just think that's creating more work for you and me. I just think that's an appointment in the diary for some time in the next few weeks to come in.
Have you ever had one of these guys, Doug?
Yeah.
That's quite a good shot to be fair.
Bad. And I think the thing about keeping your head down is, what's the origin? Why do people say that to each other?
Well, I don't know. Why do they?
When someone tops a golf ball, right, and the club comes back in half an inch, 3/4 inch too high, it's logical to think that if that's too high, then your head's been too high, the whole thing's been too high, so it must feel and look to someone like they've just gone like that, or they've looked a bit early and gone like that. So you can see the logic behind why lifting your head might be seen as being the cause for topping a few shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the debate probably should go in the direction that, is it different for young athletic golfers to what it should be for, what the advice should be for older, less athletic golfers?
Do you know what? I'm gonna flip it, because it wouldn't be a squabble unless I disagreed a bit. And I do still think, out of all the old cliches, keeping your head down might still have some legs.
I think you're gonna fall over.
Right, okay. So it's very different. I prefer that, because the argument, keep your eye on the ball.
Oh, I hate that.
That's worse,
right?
That's
awful, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I say to everyone, and a few people watching would have heard me say it, you're either going to hit a great shot, I want to see it, or a terrible shot, I need to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah? So that's right. You have to look up at where, you can't be that guy from my shot a minute ago. However, there is still an element of, some people, if they do lose their height, or they get taller, they can top it, I think.
So how many times have you said, say in the last 12 months to a guy, you've got to keep your head more still as you hit it, or you've got to not keep your head down, but you've got to try and focus on keeping your head in one
I talk to people
place
about maintaining their height a little bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Because it sounds a little bit better than keep your head still.
But the message is,
keep your head still.
I don't think I've said that in my entire 29 years I've been teaching, and I haven't said that once.
Just back to the relevance of keeping your head still over keeping your eye on the ball. If you think about some great players, David Duval, Henrik Stenson, their impact position is there.
Yeah.
So they're looking there whilst the club is still lagging behind. Then they strike it, they're already looking. But one thing they have done is kept their heads still. They haven't gained any height.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah?
It's pivoted on the axis of their spine, isn't it? So if their spine is leaning forwards like that, they're forwards there, and that's their spine. Mm-hmm. And their head has stayed on the top and pivoted across the top of the axis. So it's like me standing here and going like that.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's not, I'm not going up and down.
Yeah.
Tilting forwards and doing that is completely different to jumping up and out of a shot.
Yeah, totally.
Why don't we try and do talk about it through the eyes of a young athletic golfer, and what we think is best practice for them. You can do that because you teach lots of them. Mm-hmm. And I'll look at it through the eyes of an old croak in their 70s who's got a bad back and arthritis and tennis elbow and any other number of complaints.
Okay, ailments.
Yeah.
See, but I still feel like we're going to have a bit of a disagreement.
You think it's universal?
I do think it's universal to a point. Unless you are in a different game, unless you want to be the world long drive champion, where you've got to give it some of that and some of that. I think if you look back at Tiger Woods at his absolute best, he makes a golf swing there, and his head stays so still until impact.
Yep, that's the young athletic approach, isn't it?
Okay, what you think? Okay, I'm with you. So you think there should be more movement when you get to a certain age. You maybe need to use different methods of creating power.
Yeah, I think if some of the guys I've seen you coaching there, the young county players, if your posture's really strong and you have elasticity in your joints, and you're not fearful of pushing your body right through that golf ball hard, then you can afford to keep your angle, keep your head in one fixed place, and do the old thing of letting your right shoulder touch you on the chin before coming out of posture. I would probably encourage that, and I reckon all young bendy golfers probably should be more, you should look to build a solid frame, because they're going to remain elastic with that frame.
I agree.
And I think you see that in professional golf, even with people that have played from a young age. I think when you and I get to sort of mid-30s, well, no, that's safe. When you and I get to mid-60s, I still think we're going to be in the same ilk of trying to keep a head still and let the golf club go past us, don't you?
Yeah.
I still think at 60 I'll be getting into a shape like that.
Yeah, I think you will. Yeah.
When I've been facing my camera at people, possibly older people, what I see all the time is their head staying down too long. They can't clear, they can't rotate because they just don't have the flexibility. Their arms can't go past their body, and they end up doing this.
Yeah.
And they end up having a buckle, and I see that time and time and time.
Yeah, I think it's all predicated. So you are right. There is a way to create extra power if there's extra movements. The only thing that matters is if that player can return the club to the ball and strike it.
No,
it's not age. It's about can they perform the movement. If they are lifting up really early and topping every shot, then they probably need to keep their head a bit still. But if
do you really see people doing that?
Yeah, I do, definitely.
They must be different over Hindlesham Way.
There's something in the water there, I'll tell you. But if they're lifting their head up, I mean, they could be jumping for all I care. If they still strike it perfectly,
you leave it, don't
happy
you?
days, absolutely. Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it.
No. I'm a great fan of symmetry, so if I see a guy or a girl get in a position here, I want to see him get in a similar, equal position here.
Yeah.
And if keeping their head still too long impedes their ability to turn through the golf ball, then this position here is going to be buckled because of it. And you see evidence. I see evidence of that shape here coming in this area here before the club hits the ball. And if you just think of it mechanically, the head of the golf club is being propelled and accelerated down towards the golf ball. You need to feel it go past the ball and accelerate into a space beyond the ball. So your arms should get straighter and longer as the head of the club gets heavier. So it wants to go there. The only way it won't go there is if the golfer's too busy keeping themselves fixed in one point here and they can't actually do it.
Yeah, I definitely think it limits power if you concentrate on it too much.
Yeah.
So my overall opinion is it's relevant. It's better than some of the other old cliches like keep your eye on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely better than
keep your arms straight.
Keep your arms straight. It's definitely better than slow down.
Slow down.
Oh, I hate that one. That's the worst one. Imagine someone told Dustin Johnson to slow down. Imagine the money, the fortune that would have cost him.
Price of the shampoo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Just everyone. If you really slow it down, it'll go much further.
That's right. Yeah, much better. Everyone
defies physics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that is still the most relevant of the cheesy cliches. However, only if needed. And that's my boom boom.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know.
So I think what comes out of this a little bit is there'll be lots of stuff that you guys all talk about with each other, and we've both agreed keeping your head down, do not do that. If you push your head that way while you're trying to go that way with your swing, you're putting two forces against each other, and you're going to get a bad back or a bad neck or bad elbows. You're not designed to go that way and that way at the same time. You're designed to turn on the angle of your spine. Think about throwing a ball or chucking a javelin. If I was going to throw this in the car park, I wouldn't keep my head looking at Joe while I swung over there. I'd be wanting to look that way because I want to get out of the way. I want the freedom to swing. And in some ways, chucking a ball is no different to hitting a ball. You've got to get out of the way of it and give your arms the space to go through. So definitely don't keep your head down. Don't swing slower. Right? Swinging quicker is a test of the mechanics. If you can swing harder, your mechanics will stand it. If you swing harder and you're worse, then your mechanics need a bit of attention. But slowing down is just like limping along in a broken car. That won't last long. What was the other one we said? Keeping your arms straight. Don't do that either. Anything that forces a shape and creates stress is not going to benefit you. You're much better to try and focus on feeling loose and light and moving in the same direction as your golf club. Do you agree with that?
I agree with all of that.
Right, do you agree with this one then? So wherever the golf club goes, you should go with it. So if the golf club goes that way and that way, you should feel a little bit like you go that way and that way too. And when the club comes back and round, you should get to there. And when it goes round, you should go through and up as well.
Yes, I agree. I don't disagree with that. It's not a way I've ever really thought about it or described it, but I don't disagree with that at all.
I go with that when someone stands there and says, I can't feel it, I've lost it, the swing feels rubbish, I can't, it just feels all loose and out of place and just feels mangled. So I say, well, okay, twist and turn with your club, make some rhythm, feel some flow. Hit some balls like that. It often goes further, often goes a bit wayward, but it returns a sense of rhythm and flow to it.
And gets kind of the rigidity out of someone's golf swing.
Don't stiffen up. There's the problem.
Don't be rigid.
Keeping your arms straight is rigid. Keeping your head down is rigid. Staring at the ball is rigid. If you're an accountant, you'll be rigid. Try and be more artistic with your golf. Free flowing and fluid. Think we sorted that out?
I think we've sorted that right out.
Yeah. Joe's got the first aid kit here. He was ready for us to have a good old dust up, but I think we probably agreed again.
We agreed a little bit more than we should do.
We've got to rename this.
We've got to rename it the agreement.
The agreement. Right.
Anyway,
that's it. We're going to stop there before we end up in raptures, and we're not allowed closer than 2 meters, so we better not do that either.
Yeah.
Right. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Cheerio.